I forgot to begin the recording again with the prayer. So missed the prayer on the recording, but that's okay. Just know that we did it. So, the God of sickness. Is there anyone that would like to begin our sharing?
I'll start out and I'll just say that, I was reluctant to begin reading this because I thought that I would read it and come out feeling more guilty about being sick or having an affliction or whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
But it didn't work out that way. I mean, this was to me a very deep reading. It was very deep, and some of it I think was a little bit over my head. So I need to go back in there and kind of reread some of it. But because it takes a lot to ingest that. I mean, but it's still that same theme running through it about how we've separated ourselves and made ourselves into somebody different than who we really are. And then that something that we made into something else is the part that becomes sick. At least that's my read on it.
Yes. That's a beautiful interpretation, Deborah. Yeah. Thank you. Phil.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thanks, Deborah, for sharing that. And where I had not even highlighted this part, but this morning as I was waiting for the call, the very first line, you have not attacked God and you do love him. And this was really reassuring that, because often like I feel, oh, probably my love is not complete or I'm not committed. And to say that, you do love him. Then it goes on, can you change your reality? When you think you are attacking yourself, it is a sure sign that you hate what you think you are. And this, and only this, can be attacked by you. What you think you are can be hateful, and what this strange image makes you do can be very destructive. Mm-hmm. So, I was and then I started wondering, so, is it that, I attack myself is when, some things are not going the way I want, and I want them to go differently than how it is going. So that becomes an attack.
Yes.
So it is only in accepting what is where I am able where I'm able to love myself and accept myself with everything that is going on.
Yes.
Yeah, because I really want my reality, the so-called reality, to be different right now. And, and since morning, every time the thought comes to me and I say, help me to accept this. Help me to see it the way you are able to see it. And I'm not liking to be here. I don't want to be. I want to be elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can so relate to that. And it's funny because I was thinking about this morning before I reread this. And so I can see where I have attacked myself because I'm not where I would like to be. And things are not the way that I would like them to be. And I have this photo I've been using of myself. I was probably in my early 20s. And looking at that face and feeling like that's where I want to be, is in that face. But what I came to realize this morning while I was doing my meditation was, it's not that I want to be in my 20s again. It's not that I want to look like that again. What I really would like to reclaim is the sincerity of that smile and the twinkling of innocence in the eyes. And I know that I can get there. I can't go back to my 20s I can't go back to what I looked like in my 20s as I'm nearing 60, but I can reclaim that feeling of innocence and joyfulness and sincerity that I had that I feel when I look at that picture of myself. So yeah, and I was also thinking, because that came up while I was doing a meditation this morning, at the first sentence of the very last paragraph, where he says, "Only at the altar of God will you find peace." And the meditation I've been doing is I imagine myself sitting dressed all in white. And it's kind of a combination of something that Jennifer gave us in 2016 when we were at the Spiritual Counseling Training Intensive. So I'm dressed all in white, and I'm sitting in this space that is all white, like it's above the clouds. And what I'm sitting on is like this mound of beautiful green moss. So there's my earth groundedness. And just off to my right is a beautiful fireplace with an altar, and the flames are comforting, but not too hot, and they're white as well. And as I'm meditating, every thought that comes to my mind, whether it's a worry or something that I'm needing to do later on in the day or later on in the week or whatever, I'm just allowing that to gently be taken from my mind and put on that altar, and then imagining that those white flames of purity are just taking them in and transferring them into something that I don't have to even think about anymore, that it's all going to be divinely cared for and taken care of. And that for me is where I find peace. So, you know, when I'm done with that meditation, does that mean that when I've completed the meditation, I no longer have this excess weight and these feelings of heaviness, both in my body and in my life, and the appearances of diabetes and high blood pressure? You know, they may not have disappeared in that meditation, during that meditation time, but I can feel the peace, and I can bring that with me. And that was really helpful in rereading this again this morning. Who else would like to share? Carla, go ahead.
So my share is not on the reading room, but it's just on what you just shared. And I don't know why, but this came into my mind because you talked about imagining. So this statement, the Michael Beckwith statement, came to mind a little different. When you imagine more and what you don't see than what you do see, you will see what you don't see, and you won't see what you do see.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm imagining it, I'm energizing that.
That seems so Bible, because we don't realize. I'm like, wow, it's always been, everything's been shown to me. All the truth has been shown to me, but I've been focusing on other stuff. And so what comes to my mind also is that athletes imagine that they win. They keep imagining it. Now, they don't always, so I think like that's what I focus on. Yet that's what they do. They haven't actually, it's actually the mind doesn't know. Somewhere I heard this. The mind doesn't know the difference between what is actually happening to the body than what you imagine is happening to the body. And so that's what that I think I underlined maybe one line. Now I can't find it now, but And that was about belief, really. And it's what we imagine we see, we believe. And so, and what you're saying, what you're sharing is that you're imagining that you're more than what you see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Carla. Perfect, whole, and complete. Mitzi. Oh, no.
No, I was just agreeing with what Carla was saying, and Phil and you. It all really resonates deeply with me.
Yeah.
That's all I was doing. I'm out of town and I'm sitting in a parking lot with some Wi-Fi, so my internet is kind of in and out.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Who else would like to share? About anything that we've talked about so far, anything in the reading, or anything that's just coming up for them?
Somebody mentioned this line earlier, but I have it on my cards here. And it's that when you are attacking yourself, it is a sign that you hate what you think you are. I don't know. It's one of those lines when I read it, it just makes my head spin around.
Yeah. Why do you think it makes your head spin around?
Well, because, I mean, I wonder who I think I really am and who am I? I mean, I guess that's it.
Yes. Yeah. And that's how I feel about it too. Carla, go ahead. You can share before I say anything else.
I was going to say, consider this. That when you read it, it makes your head spin around, but what if it's ego? What if it's aggravating the ego? What if it doesn't want you to realize the truth of who you are? And so, and this seems to me it's so, I don't know if it's real, but we believe it's real, is that we feel it. Yet the body, we've been reading, that I've been reading that the body is like the home of it. The ego isn't even real, yet it's a thought system, right? That we come into this world to do. And I read this whole thing, and I sat for 20 minutes without thinking. I just sat with it, and not thinking about it, and so I make bookmarks, and so I think I've shared this before. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. It is not necessary to seek for what is true, but to seek for what is false. And my sense is the false, all the false is in a lot of the thinking that we are this, thinking when we see something, when we see dirt on the window, then it just automatically, we don't even notice it sometimes, how the mind goes into judgment, thinking. And how can we navigate? This is a challenge we ask for, the Horseshack moment, right? This is a challenge we ask for, and we're receiving as we ask because we are so interested in, what are we interested in? Living fully in the truth. And when we think, oftentimes that's other possibilities, that what you're talking about, other possibilities being offered to us. I'm just not interested. Like Jennifer, she tells us, she's told me everything that I need to remember who I truly am. And then I forget it and just be myself. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Carla. Yeah, so for me, it feels like that those ego thoughts are the hateful thoughts. And even something as simple as I would like to feel lighter in my mind and body and spirit can be a hateful thought, because it means that I'm judging myself as not having that already. And the truth is, no matter what my appearance is, situations, or, you know, when I look in the mirror, or, you know, when I get my test results from the doctor or whatever, that's not the truth about me unless I believe it's the truth about me. And then it's not even really the truth. It's just the false beliefs that I'm using that are the dirt on the window, not allowing me to see the truth of who I am. Go ahead, Leslie, and then Mitzi.
I'm going to try to hurry up and talk because, as you can see, there's been a lot of traffic in my room. I think I'm going to try like what Mitzi is doing and maybe go to my car next week. It's so cold here, but it's very distracting, and I apologize about that. And I do try to make you guys lower in volume, but thank you for everybody's share so far. And this chapter, I didn't get too much out of this chapter. I must not be ready to read it, and that's okay. The one line that I really liked is only, and this was paragraph 11, sentence 1, only at the altar of God will you find peace. Mm-hmm. And I just think if I could remember that, and I do very often, it would be very helpful. I feel like I had a big old spiritual failure this weekend. And it's okay. I was with Scott and I went up north to my brother-in-law's it was on the Friday. We spent the night Friday, and then Saturday went to his sister. And I have challenges with both of these people. And I went into the weekend knowing how they are. So like, the one brother-in-law, he says effing, that's his favorite adjective, you know. And so I'm like, oh, I'll make it fun and just count how many times he says effing. Well, after 2 hours and I had 22 F-bombs, I'm like, okay, this is not helpful. This is not helpful at all. I'm just judging him, you know. And it's not just that he's vulgar. It's just, we're just water and oil. We just don't have anything. The only thing we have in common is that we both love my husband. We both love Scott, you know, which is a big thing we have in common. And then his sister, she talks at like a volume 10 when she could talk at a volume 1. And so after just 3 hours with her, I felt like I was going to go crazy. I mean, I don't know how you can find peace. And I really feel for people on the spiritual journey, because it's just me and my husband and 3 cats. That's, you know, I don't have kids. We don't have grandchildren. You know, it's pretty calm for the most part in our house. And her one little great grandchild, she's 9, and she just went to lay on her bed for a minute, and I went and laid down with her, and her name's Genevieve, and I just said, how you doing, sweetie? And she's like, oh, I have a headache and I'm dizzy. I'm like, oh, so I rubbed her temple, and we just laid in bed, and we didn't say anything for like 3 minutes. And it's like, the poor thing probably just needed that little peace and quiet, you know? But, and I guess I'm just bringing the story to you guys because by the time I got home, I mean, I had no peace. Felt like, and it was a 2 hour and 15-minute drive each way, but it was fine. We spent the night, but I went in trying to manage my expectations. And so my expectations were about 4. I had very low expectations, and I know that's part of my pain body because I hate to be disappointed. And it's not like I don't know these people. I've known them for 30 years. You know, I know he's going to see that bomb, and I know she's going to be loud. The only person I can change is myself. Mm-hmm. That being said, I totally lost my peace, and so my expectations were 4, and the reality was I got about a 2. So they were even worse than I expected to get no sleep. I expected for the food to be terrible. I expected to be annoyed by all those people. And yet, if my thoughts are my reality, then isn't it my fault that I had this bad experience? And I just feel like a big fat loser. But not to be hard on myself, but I did very poorly. And I was talking to my mom about it, and she made a very good point. She's like, well, I think what you didn't manage as far as your expectations was, how was I going to handle myself? It's like, how could I have responded with love? Because like I said, Blythe, she's so loud. I mean, she's in the kitchen. I mean, you can, no matter where you're out in the house, you can hear what she's saying. I mean, and I don't know if I could have hugged her in 30 years. I don't know, maybe she's deaf and I don't know. I don't know why she's so loud, but it's just not peaceful. So I don't know what I could have done differently, but it was really miserable. And I'm glad it's over, but it was funny because I sat down and listened to a service on Sunday because we got home Saturday night, and it was all about gratitude. And so I wrote a piece of paper, and I thought of 22 things I was grateful for those 2 days. 22 things. That's a lot. How could I give that experience a 2 when I had 22 things to be grateful for? I mean, little things like Dana, he's got a terrible foul mouth, but he makes great coffee and he had almond milk. I was thrilled. Those are 2 great things, And yeah, Scott and I had to sleep on a double-sized bed, and we're each used to sleeping in our own bedrooms. He has a king-size bed. I have a queen-size bed. But thank God there was a couch I could move to in the middle of the night. I mean, there's just, and as far as his sister, I'd never seen a property, 27 acres of these beautiful woods, not peaceful because she was screaming, and they had 6 ginormous dogs, which, not judging, I love dogs, 6 of them, 6. So any advice of how I can handle somebody that's very vulgar, and because I'm not going to change them. I know I'm not going to change them. It's been 30 years. So I know it was me.
Yeah, my only thought is to write a forgiveness letter.
Oh, that's a good one.
To yourself about your judgments about them. And know that actually it's a win because you noticed the things that were irritating you. And though you weren't able to stay in your peace, it was still probably better than any other visit that you had.
It was bad.
And just be kind to yourself.
But I love that, Linda, forgiveness letter. That's perfect. Yeah. I never think of that. That is never one of the top things that I think of to do. And every time I do them, they're very helpful. So that is really good. That's a good idea. Yeah. I just want them to change. That's the bottom line. I think they need to change. I think they should change, and they're not changing.
Right.
And I think I'm right and they're wrong, and so therefore I'm not happy. Yeah. So I know all these things. Again, but do you think that my thoughts are what created the bad experience? How I was expecting?
Your judgments of them and of yourself and how you were reacting.
So had I gone in, I'm just trying to think of a do-over. You know how Jennifer talks about a do-over, how I would do things differently, and gosh, I just don't know.
Yeah. And Diane may have something to say about this. I saw her raise her hand, but she had that similar kind of, yeah.
And then, I have my pen ready to take notes.
Yeah.
Leslie, I just wanted to share that I think I'm the queen of feeling bad after being with family. Like, I have a lot of experience of coming home from family situations and then just like totally beating myself up because of what happened. So the thing that I've learned, and I just, as Linda pointed out, our Thanksgiving is in the beginning of October here in Canada. So I just came back from that trip, the beginning of October with again, the queen of feeling bad. But one of the things that has really come to me is that it's a huge opportunity for me to practice self-love, self-forgiveness, and self-compassion. And And the more I take care of myself and I have loving thoughts towards myself, whatever situation I'm in, the better off that situation is. And I'm also learning, because I've got another family thing coming up at Christmas time. If those of you that celebrate Christmas, you may have that coming as well, is I'm trying to look at ways I can take care of myself when I'm with, I don't have somebody who's saying the F-bomb or loud, but I have characters that will be in my home that I am triggered by. Big triggers for me. So for me, it's, and I'm like you, I know I can't change those things. Those triggers are going to be happening at Christmas for me again, but how am I going to look after myself? And if I can be okay with me, then I can either have that reverberating impact on others or not. That doesn't really matter. But I somehow, the deep desire of my heart is to be unbotherable and to awaken. That's my true aspiration, my intention. And for me, the key to all of it is self-care. Like when I get triggered, I'm not looking after myself. That's what I feel. I've somehow fallen off the train from loving myself, being compassionate to myself. And maybe some of that compassion for me is to say, you know, I'm going to just leave the situation for a while, get out of the house, somehow distance myself from the people who trigger me or whatever. Like, I'm just open to spirit guiding me in terms of how can I be okay with me here in this environment that doesn't feel good. So anyway, like I had a big, huge splat in October. Those of us that are in Ascension Pathway with me know that. And again, like I just, to give you a little bit of feedback, I heard you say I did poorly. And those are, and I've had all of that. Like that's a thought that I get even worse than I did poorly. I'm like, you're despicable, and just terrible things about me that I want to get out of my thought patterns, that, you know, those thoughts I want to be transformed. So anyways, I just wanted to express that I feel like I'm the real queen or princess in those feeling bad things.
Thank you, Diane.
I just want to say real quick, Diane, that's an excellent point, because this is just a small example, and I didn't think of it as not taking care of myself during the moment, but it was absolutely true. They both, my husband and his brother, gave me the option of what movie did we want to watch. And I looked through all of these movies, and there's two movies out of, let's say, 40 that I would find acceptable. But I'm like, no, I don't care. You guys pick the movie. So we watched, and I'm sorry, you guys might like this movie, but I did not care for it. Hitchhikers from the Galaxy, or some sci-fi something that I did not care for. But that's a perfect example, because I could. And then the other thing is, there was basically only two places to sit. So then I was on the floor, and then I ended up sitting with my husband in the armchair, you know, but whatever. But the brother asked me if I wanted to sit in his spot, and I said, no, that's okay. You know, and so there's two examples right there that I could have taken care of myself, and I chose not to. It's like I was already feeling like a victim. Poor me, you know. So then I didn't even think of it really, though. Thank you, Diane. I will, and I'm always the queen of self-care, so much for that. When the going gets tough, oops, sorry.
Yeah, you did fine. You did fine. Mitzi, and then Carla.
Well, I just want to say I'm so grateful that because I had my meltdown yesterday. I'm so visiting family. It seems like, and I had a major
Oh, Mitzi, you froze.
Even I felt just to my news talking and what is that?
Mitzi, we're going to come back to you. I don't know if you can hear me, but we can only hear like
that
the
hated
fourth or fifth word. Yep, there she goes. Carla.
Okay. Well, the one line is it's in the 9th paragraph, the 6th line. I'm gonna alter the first part because the whole paragraph goes into the first part of the line. When you let go of the false beliefs, and that's the god of sickness and all that stuff, everything will be unmade for you the instant you signify your willingness to accept the eternal. And so what I felt to share is I used to pray to recognize the judgments. I didn't realize at first how many I had, how many were coming up. I used to go straight to the feeling bad and not even recognize the thoughts, right? And then I prayed for months about recognizing the false beliefs and the judgments. And then this is what I'm hearing from you, Leslie. And I mean, it's my own experience, but I see the similarities that I started seeing the judgments. And then I started judging myself for the judgments. And so when I was able to, and this is the self-love from Diana, to see the judgments, just recognize them for what they were, false beliefs, something, not love, whatever, and let go of the judging them. And that is the loving of myself. That is the loving of myself, because everything that flows through us, I can judge whatever side, family thoughts about President Trump. Does that ever affect him? We're part of the one mind, but it doesn't seem like it is. But it affects me, affects my body. And that's where the sickness comes in. I think that when it's that steady stream, the flowing of the judgments allow come through me, and I accept them as that, yeah, I'm judging. Once I let go of those, the flow of judgments, it's a really bad choice of words maybe, but then I let go of the sickness, because we're one with God, you know? When I stop judging myself for judging, that was when I let go of the sick. Now the appearance doesn't seem to have changed yet. It doesn't seem to have changed yet. And what I see is the opportunities are still offered to me sometimes. Are you sure you want to let go? Are you really interested? That I see you did it a couple times, but not all the time. These are judgments too. But I'm just using this to my mind. Like, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you consistent? Are you all this? And those are also judgments too. But I use the judgments. I'm using the judgments to help me. And that's what I've been using judgments for, is to hurt me, to judge me, not to love me. That's what I've been doing for as long as I can remember in this not every second. See, we focus on the bad. That's what this ego does, you know. And so that's what you're imagining, the true. Imagine the true. Imagine the true. Stay focused on the true. The love, because love is all there is. That's love is all there is. So all those things that you think you do, they're just supporting your interest in shifting back to love. And it's just showing you when you're not choosing love. That's, and I listened to Jennifer for probably hundreds, maybe thousands of hours before I recognized this. Yeah, okay. That's how long it needed to take, because I do. And I still forget every day, probably quite often, probably every minute, you know, but I always come back to the truth of who I am, because that's all it is. It can't be changed. I can think I changed God's work by my thinking, by my beliefs, by even my actions, but it's not possible. I couldn't ever have done that. So I get to go now. I'm way late. So thank you so much for allowing me to share that.
Leslie, I just wanted to mention too that another thought that came to me was, so you noticed the things that were offered to you that you turned down. So that's a win. You noticed them this time, and you may not have even noticed them in the past. So you can be grateful for the opportunities that you missed, because next time you can choose differently. Yeah. And all those people coming in and out, maybe they need to hear something we're saying. So don't worry about that. It's not distracting. All right, Mitzi, we're going to hold your internet, so it's going to be steady for you to share.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much. I switched to my phone, so hopefully that'll be better. And I think rather than go into my whole saga, because I've been with family and my mom, and that's been, I would say, a bit of a challenge. But so in what appeared to be my failure yesterday, I asked questions that I got from people in this group. Thank you. What is the perfection in this? And what is my fear? What is my false belief going on here? You know? And then I remembered my old habit of wanting to analyze things, go through it, pick it apart. And I remembered that that was not helpful. That is a red herring. That is a distraction. And instead, thank you, Carla, what I did was I remembered, because what I was feeling is that I wanted to hide from God. That's how I felt, you know, that I wanted to hide because I felt like such a failure. And that, you know, like Carla said, you know, I say I want to do this and I want to, you know, go for love at all costs. And then I just like, dive in here. And then I remembered that nothing can separate me from the love of God. All he sees is my innocence. And that I am made in love. I am made in generosity. I'm made in kindness and gentleness. Now, it didn't show up exactly like that. There was, but I remembered that and I said, that's who I am, and I can choose again. And what was the miracle here is that my feeling of shame, my feeling of failure, my feeling that I couldn't like hold my head up and go back in and just love, because normally I drag that shame thing around with me all freaking day, week, whatever. And, you know, I've got this gloomy whatever on me. But the miracle has been that when I went back and I said, I know you love me. And that did not turn out the way I had previously planned. Like Leslie, I went in with some expectations that I'm going to really love at all costs this time. And I do. But I do because I am loved. And nothing can separate me from the love of God. And that really helped me bring joy back. That's what I needed to bring back. I didn't necessarily need to go back in and say, you know, I was an ass yesterday, and I'm just like so sorry for the things I said, you know, which of course that is part of it. But mostly what I can bring back in there is this peace, because I lost my peace and I knew it, and I knew all the signs were there. I'm like, oh, you've screwed up because you chose wrongly, because your peace is gone, 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 girl, gone. And so it is a miracle. The miracle was the shift in my mind that I didn't have to hide from God. I can anyways, but so I don't know if that's helpful. I just know that that helped me when I felt like, you know, because I would like to say I'm the empress of feeling bad after this, because my mom's 85 years old. So when I say something, you know, it's like, you know, that you know, I feel bad about later, then it's like, gosh, you know, that I may not have an opportunity to turn around and go, oh, I was such a, you know, thing yesterday. But when I see her today, I will be bringing peace and the love of God with me again. And so let's just hope it stays. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Leslie, for your bravery, and Diane for saying, you know, that you had tough times with family, because, oh my goodness. I get it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitzi.
Yeah, thank you, Mitzi. That was helpful. You know, when I said I felt bad about myself, it was more of like I didn't carry that shame around with me or anything. It was more I was almost chagrined about it. Like, really? I'm this far along on the path, and then I felt like I did a little backslide. But what's interesting is after I listened to that talk, that church service, and it was all about gratitude, and I wrote those 22 things, then I wrote each, the sister and the brother-in-law, thank you note. And it felt sincere because of the things that there were a lot. There were basically 2 things I was not grateful for. And the rest I was really grateful for. So that felt good to be back. I felt like that snapped me back to my loving heart. It's like, I can definitely love them from a distance. That's really easy to do. But I think and I'm so fortunate that with my family, we get along great. You know, Scott's family, I have a few problems with, but what I really noticed was, it was like I hid my light. Like I just didn't, like there's all this vulgarness and all this noise, and it just made me feel like I just had to shrink back in myself, and like I couldn't let that love and light out. Does that make sense? Like I was just overpowered or something, and yet I know nothing can overpower God. You know, I know my light can shine as bright as it can shine in the moment. And like I said, I adore the kids. I mean, I have so much fun with them, you know, and even the brother-in-law, it was funny because he did let me ride his ATV, the 4-wheel, you know, and it was cold. It was like 30 degrees, but I had my hat and mitts on. And so he showed me how to ride it, and I'm a klutz. And so I rode it around twice, and he's just like, whatever you do, don't run into the fire pit.
of course I ran into the fire pit, you know. So like I thought I was hitting the brakes and I hit the gas and 6 cement things went flying, but he wasn't even mad at me. So, you know, that was nice. I really thank everybody for their shares, because it's going to give me a lot of food for thought. Because when we're driving home, I'm like, that's it. Never going there again, ever. I don't care what Scott says. He can go there on his own. They're not my family. They're his family. I'm not dealing with them anymore. You know, and talk about throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, Blythe has a beautiful place of 27 acres, you know, a beautiful place. And I love dogs. I really do, you know, and it made me realize how much of a cat lover I truly am. So that was good, because I've been wondering if I should get a dog, you know. So it's you know, the only person that can change in a relationship is ourselves, and then the relationship changes. So I'm grateful for upcoming opportunities, and I'm grateful we're not going there for Christmas. And you know, I think it's Robin sometimes talks about boundaries, and you know, there's a time and a place where you do have to take care of yourself, you know, and sometimes it might be a no, honey, I don't want to go this year, you know. And yet I know when you're married, sometimes you do things that you don't want to do too, because you love that person, and that's okay too. So I'm glad that God is always on my side. And when I say my side, I know it's everybody's side. So I just have to have faith and know, and just stay in the present moment. You know, I felt really good about sending those thank you notes. So, okay, I've talked enough. Thank you everyone for listening. And I'm really glad they don't listen to YouTube, so they won't hear this.
Leslie was so helpful. Robin, and then Penelope.
You know, you hate to laugh at these stories, but honestly, I have just loved the laughter, and I love that you are so willing to share, Leslie. And the one thing that I either heard Jennifer or someone say or read it is that it is, I mean, I don't like contrast. I don't want to learn through contrast, but contrast is a huge way to help us learn. That's what I'm starting to see. So I like, when I go through something that's in a contrast and I'm on that negative plane, if I can say, here's the contrast, and this is really for my healing and my good, I can learn about this. It's sort of like a speed board to open up and to help me awaken. So we could look at the word contrast and the experience as being a positive instead of a negative. Well, that's helpful. And I loved what Diane said. I've loved what everybody said. But this whole thing about being with people that poke us and even more, and saying to this is where I can notice that I need to self-love and be nurturing to myself. Mm-hmm. And whether you get quiet or whether you choose, you say, what can I do in this moment? Now, this is just coming up for me too, to love and nurture myself, knowing that as I'm loving and nurturing myself, I'm extending that forward, whether it's like it's helping the situation. It is going to be helpful, not only to me, but for the others that are around me. And it's about nurturing myself. Mm-hmm. And stop judging. And we know that when we're judging, we're projecting this bad stuff on them. So we have to keep bringing it back to self, And, maybe you could take a year off, but, they are your biggest learning about loving yourself. You don't really want to scratch them off forever. But you might have to take a breath and say, next time I'm not available. But if you could go into it saying, here's where I can measure how much I've grown, and here's how I can measure sharing my love to them. I can do this differently or see it differently. It's so easy to say these things. But
You know,
anyway.
that's a great point though, Robin, because it's like I did go in there knowing what behaviors I was going to expect. And I just didn't carry it farther, but like, okay, what am I going to do? And that would have been perfect. I could have went outside and brushed one of the dogs. I love brushing dogs. I you know, and I could have got away from all the noise. I could have had 5 minutes to myself and could have, but instead I was feeling like a victim and I was just swept up in the tide and I just was suffering through it. You know, it's like all my spiritual tools just went out the window. So I'm sorry, Penelope, I know you wanted to say something, but thank you, Robin. That was very helpful.
Yep. So next time you can go into it like you're Indiana Jones and it's an adventure. Ooh, I wonder what we're going to dig up this time.
Excuse me, it showed you where you are. You know, and that's big because we go along and it just helps you see, I've got more work. Or this is where I need to, this is where.
Exactly, because I thought I was way farther down the spiritual path, and then this happens, and it's like, I got a lot farther to go than I thought. I thought I was making great progress.
And it's shocking, but we need it, and so it's like, this is helpful. So, sorry, Penelope, thank you.
Teaching us humility. Go ahead, Penelope.
First of all, yeah, brilliant conversation and so honest. Leslie, I do love that top that you're wearing. I just love the cute penguins. One thing that occurred to me, Leslie, as you were talking is, this is just one part of it. When you were talking about your brother-in-law and the language, Ho'oponopono. So every time he swears, use the Ho'oponopono. I do that on things that I get irritated by. So that might be another little tool. And the other thing I was thinking about was how I can't remember what lesson number this is, we don't know what anything is for. And maybe, and I do this, I give myself such a hard time when I've not behaved or said or done what I think is how I could or would behave in being on this spiritual path, is I actually almost make it worse for myself because I pick it to bits and I criticize and judge exactly how I've behaved, etc. It may be, for instance, that actually it was there to show you, it was like a lesson in gratitude. It may not be to the extent that it's like sometimes when I've been in situations where I've just got so down on myself, and I make it so much worse for myself because of the way that I'm perceiving it. So then that just kind of makes it even bigger. And this kind of like, if ever I've had that thought of wishing or believing or even having that thought of thinking that I'm further along the path, as soon as you were talking about that, I realized that actually is an ego thought to believe that I'm further along the path. And whenever I have those thoughts of believing something that, I've maybe healed this or whatever, then it comes back to me. And so I'm getting much more aware of, if I've had a thought like that, it's like, oh no, not a good idea to have those kind of thoughts, because the chances are Spirit is going to show me differently. So those are the things that as you've been talking. One of the things that came up for me when I read this line, it's the part, I'm just trying to see it now. When you think you are attacking yourself, it is a sure sign that you hate what you think you are. And one of the things that I've just recently become aware of is I hate my personality. Mm-hmm. And I realise that that's where I can go into this self-hatred because of this hatred of my personality. What's helping, what seems to just, there's been some kind of little shift recently at the same time as I kind of began to realize this, that often when I'm judging myself or attacking myself or criticizing, it's like huge aspects of my entire personality, and I almost wish to be different. I wish to be the person that's confident. I wish to be the person that's really outgoing, and I wish to be almost the opposite of what I am. But something in the last day or so kind of shifted in that real much. Although I've heard it said that we choose our personalities to work so that it's our personalities that assist us to work the curriculum this lifetime, it still didn't really fully, it wasn't like I was fully embodying that truth that I chose this personality. But something shifted over this last couple of days almost, where, and I don't know if it's in part by doing joining the Enneagram workshop last night and also doing the test, and it was as if there was this realization and this acceptance that my personality is one of those 9 personalities. And so we're all the same, because we've all got aspects of all those 9 personalities. And there'll be one that I will be my home personality, will be the same, mine will be the same as many, many other people I come into contact with. And something has helped me shift then and become a little bit more accepting. I don't know that I'm completely there yet. Much more accepting that my personality, I chose it, and this personality is actually assisting me. And I don't know if this is also leading in, Leslie, to what you were talking about, is often it's our personalities, those kind of low sides of our personalities, the home personalities maybe, and maybe other personality traits that create those responses in the way we respond in certain situations. And that understanding is really helping me to just get those glimmers of more acceptance of who I am, and that my personality isn't the truth of who I am, but my personality is there to assist me to know the truth of who I am. And so the way that I respond in any situation is often the low personality sides of those different personalities, those 9 different personalities on the Enneagram type. So I've gone on, I'm going to stop there.
Thank you, Penelope. That's very helpful. I got to know, what number are you?
I said on the workshop last night that I thought it was a 4, but during the workshop I actually said, I'm not now 100% certain that I am, if my home one is a 4, because I scored higher on the 4, but my scoring is quite close together. So then the next ones was 6, and 9 and 1 scored exactly the same. So I'm not sure if I'm a 4 or a 6. And when I looked at the personalities, the kind of the low, I was looking at the low side of the personalities. There is so many things that I can resonate with 4 and 6, absolutely. So I'm not 100% certain.
But that is a good, I didn't think about that, about the personality, and I have to go 2, but because I'm a 2, so I'm a helper, and I just know I can help those 2 people be better than they show up, and that's a little part of my personality too. And I just want to say too about the Enneagram, one thing I read that was so helpful was we are not our personalities. And if you think of your personalities, like who we are is truly the deep ocean or the deep lake, and as our personality is just the wave. It's just the wave. But I just love the Enneagram because it helps me, like just knowing you're a 4 or a 6, that just kind of, it helps me when I know somebody's number, because of, I don't know you well, but like, especially people I work with, it's like this one person, I'm like, oh God, you got to take the test because I need to find out what number you are. It will help me get along with you better. And one last thing I just want to say about my brother-in-law, it was so interesting. When we hugged goodbye, he hugged me longer and tighter than he ever has before. And it was, I said, my mom was like, he was almost saying, I'm sorry I was such an ass. But I don't know what he was thinking, but it was very sweet. I have to go. I'm so sorry. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.
Love you.
Thank you all.
So I'll just add one more thing if it's okay, and just say this last line on my cards that really struck me and really touched my heart. It says, your faith in it will make you whole when you have faith in me. And that word faith kind of has a lot of religious connotations, but today I was listening to a podcast and they defined faith as the ability to believe.
Linda, you're muted.
Can I?
Yeah, there's people pounding, so go ahead, Diane. Thank you, Deborah.
Can I just ask a quick question? Somebody brought up YouTube. Are these posted on YouTube, like for everybody to see?
Mm-hmm.
They're not private?
No.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, but they have to look up A Course in Miracles, the study group, the thing that we're, the section in the chapter that we're talking about. So very unlikely that anybody is going to, you know, find it. But Diane, if there's ever something that you share that you feel completely like you don't want it to be out there anywhere, let me know and I just won't post it.
Oh, that's okay. I just wasn't aware that this was going to be public. I thought it was a private forum. So that's, thanks for clarifying that. That just helps me. I didn't realize this was going to be on YouTube. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that's the link that I share in our Facebook group and in our WhatsApp group.
Okay. All right.
For the recording. So the others that are in our group that don't get to join us because they're a different time zone or they have something else going on at this time, that they can listen to it. And honestly, I think I've only ever seen like 1 or 2 people watch it. So yeah, highly unlikely that anybody's going to see it that you don't want to see it. But like I said, if you ever feel uncomfortable about something that you shared and you don't want me to put it there, I'm more than happy to honor that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I can attest to when I go in and watch them, there's rarely any other views. So, but I do watch, you know, if I missed one, I go back and watch it. But I think only one time I saw like 1 other view or something,
yeah.
You know.
It was probably me making sure that it got posted.
So I want to mention, please, something my brother said to me last night. He said, you know, in paraphrasing, the ego meant it for bad, but God meant it for good.
Yes.
So you know, it's like very encouraging because we both get triggered in the same thing. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks, Mitzi. Thank you everybody for all of your shares today. What a amazing, deep conversation. I appreciate it. Next week, I just want to continue in the same chapter with the next section, which is the end of sickness, which I believe is section 4. My book's not marked, but I'll look it up and make sure that it's the right section when I post it in our group, but it's the end of sickness. And Yahoo, let's find that. All right. So what I'm reading today from Pathways of Light Insights is lesson 337, which is, my sinlessness protects me from all harm. The Course defines atonement as perfect love. It also calls it the undoing. God created the self we share as perfect love. Thus, when we accept atonement, we accept ourself. If we weren't rejecting love, there would be no need for atonement, no need for undoing false perceptions. But to experience atonement, to experience perfect love, we need to undo our denial of it. That is why forgiveness is central to the Course. Forgiveness is the undoing of the denial of love. When I judge someone, that person represents my denial of love. It is this I must take to the Holy Spirit and let him help me see the love behind the behavior and to answer the call for love with love. When I disapprove of someone's behavior, oh my gosh, every time it's so apropos for what we've been discussing. When I disapprove of someone's behavior, even if it's my own, I may tell myself I would never do that. This is one of the tricks of the ego. It encourages us to look at form, behavior, and disregard content. As I learn to take these judgments to the Holy Spirit, I learn to see the comment and content. Always in some way, the behavior represents a belief in separation and the lack and loss that seem to come with it. If I see someone as needy or demanding or manipulative or any of myriad labels I might apply, they all cover a basic sense of loss, which the behavior is trying to rectify. The behavior is trying to solve the problem on the level of form, where it cannot be solved. When I judge the behavior, I am thinking that changing the behavior will solve the problem, which is also trying to solve the problem at the level of form, where it cannot be solved. As I learn to recognize the problem is a sense of lack that comes from believing in separation from love, then I can take that problem to the Holy Spirit and ask for help to recognize that I am the love that I seem to have lost. And in that seemingly other person, I can answer the behavior, the call for love, with love. Thus, as I teach myself that I am love and that love is always the answer. The problem is the belief in separation from love. The answer is the acceptance of myself, capital S, perfect love. That is atonement. That is accepting myself as the Son of God loves. That is seeing that I am joined with all my brothers in that one self that is the Son God loves. Today, Holy Spirit, help me not to be fooled by behavior. Help me to see my unity with all in the one self that is God's beloved Son. Thus will I let my sinlessness protect me from all harm. If I think I can be harmed in any way, I have forgotten myself. I have forgotten my identity as an extension of God's love, and am dreaming of being the opposite of what I truly am. Building defenses against harm is not the answer. Letting go of the false dream of separation is the answer. Taking all thought of harm to the Holy Spirit to be undone is how I let go of these thoughts. I recognize they are unreal and harm is impossible. Dreams of being on a distant shore are not reality. Dreams of bodies are not reality. Today I would practice accepting atonement for myself. Today I would let the Holy Spirit show me the difference between what is real and what is unreal. I would let my mind be healed today. The lesson says that I must accept atonement for myself and nothing more, because forgiveness is central to the course. Acceptance of atonement begins with me, or where I am spiritually at the moment. I've shared before that I notice I can be much more forgiving or let up on others when I forgive or let up on myself first. That makes sense to me, because when I perceive that someone says something mean to me or does something to hurt me, it's always when I'm not in a peaceful state of mind. It's always when my self-esteem is low or I'm feeling insecure about myself. When I'm in a spiritual state of mind, I really do feel protected from all harm. It's kind of like an invisible shield protecting me, but not from the world or from bad things attacking me. In other words, it's not like bad things are coming in from the outside. It's like good things are going out from the inside. It's like my true self is shining and I experience nothing but light around me. And it is these moments that I can say, Father, my dream is ended now. Amen. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Linda.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, everybody.
See you all next week. I love you.
Love you all.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.